The last thing you want in your novel are plot holes. Unless you're an erotica writer, I guess. A plot hole is any gap in your story's logic. Something that works but shouldn't have worked, an obvious solution to a problem that characters don't use, an inconsistency or coincidence that just doesn't work. Plot holes can be tricky things to find, but you'll regret not finding one if you ever fall into one. So today, let's talk about some ways that you can prevent plot holes in your novel in the first place. Alright, first up, don't go nuts on the rules. This is going to apply most strongly to the speculative fiction writers out there, but I think it's a consideration for most genres. If you've got a magic system or some kind of fictional technology in your novel, and you've described its capabilities in intricate detail, this creates massive opportunities for plot holes. This is especially true if you introduce a new ability later on that could have been used earlier to solve some kind of problem but wasn't used because you haven't introduced it yet. Does everyone remember the whole force healing thing? I feel like if that had been used on Padme, we could have avoided a lot of sequels. This doesn't just apply in a sci-fi or magical setting either. It can apply to things like character morals or beliefs. It's like, sure, this character has been steadfast about operating within the law for the first 3 books of the series, but here in book 4 they do something illegal to solve a plot problem, yet in book 5 they again refuse to do something because it runs counter to their morals. Hitting the limits of something, whether it's a magical ability or a character's moral code, is risky because anytime you break those limits, it can lead to inconsistencies and plot holes that are hard to explain. There's a balance between having rules that let the reader get their head around your story, but also not being so rigid with those rules that you can't get yourself out of a jam without breaking them. Too many rules, whether it's around a character's own personal moral code, some piece of technology, some legal system that the characters have to follow, having too many rules in too much detail is fertile ground for plot holes. Next way to prevent plot holes, start your story from the beginning or start it from the end. The most surefire way to prevent plot holes is to begin with a problem presented to your characters at the start of the story and build your story by logically following what happens in sequence. Problems tend to creep in when you have a beginning and an end for the story and try to find a path between them where a logical path may not exist. What is important is treating your story like a logical sequence of events. You can do this by either seeing where a beginning leads you or working back from an ending to a logical beginning. This is a problem that presents itself in a lot of series or long-running franchises because you've got a beginning, you've got previous installments in the series that have established all of these things, and then someone comes up with a great idea for an ending, but there's not a coherent path from the established beginning to the end. The path from point A to point B has to meander through a bunch of excuses, and you end up with plot holes. Next up, don't reveal more information than you need to. I am not alone in being a proponent of intentional and purposeful description. No detail, whether it's expository or descriptive, should be given to the reader unless it has a purpose behind it. Part of this is for efficiency's sake. You shouldn't waste time describing something that doesn't matter. We don't need a paragraph describing your character's business casual outfit in excruciating detail unless it's critical to the plot or reveals something important about that character. Don't waste time drawing the reader's attention to things that their attention has no purpose in being drawn to. But this also plays a part in preventing plot holes. Don't have a character offhandedly mention they have a sister in a throwaway line of dialogue, because later on you might need them to be an only child. Lazily revealing details just because you need a character to say something at a certain point or you want to make a description paragraph a little bit longer can get you in a jam because once you reveal a detail, you have to stand by it. Always strive for the minimum amount of information that allows you to effectively tell the story. Doesn't mean you can't have detailed descriptions, doesn't mean the writing can't feel deep or luscious, But in pursuit of that, you don't want to accidentally reveal something that becomes problematic later on. Even simple things like eye color can cause these sorts of problems. If you introduce a character as having brown eyes in chapter 1, but then in chapter 20 they need to remind some other character of their mother who was introduced as having blue eyes, then that's a problem and a potential plot hole. You want to treat your writing like an interrogation. Reveal as little information as possible lest you incriminate yourself. Be intentional about what you describe to the reader. Make sure it has a purpose. Make sure you've thought through how revealing this information could affect your story down the road. Next way to avoid plot holes: foreshadow, 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 and then foreshadow some more. The ultimate explanation for something that happens later on in a novel is having it happen earlier on in the novel. You can basically have anything happen at the end of your novel if you establish that it can happen earlier on. Plot, when you boil it right down, is about setting up expectations and a problem, and then solving that problem based around those expectations. Don't underestimate your ability to establish expectations in the reader. When someone first makes a mountain in chapter 1 of your novel, the reader will say, "Oh, in this story, people can make mountains." When someone makes a mountain for the first time at the climax, the reader will say, "Wait, people can't make mountains in this story." You don't want that sort of reaction. And the last way to prevent plot holes is to get feedback. This is probably, of all the methods I've talked about, the best one for preventing plot holes. Someone who isn't you is going to be the best person for finding any logic issues or other holes in your story. This is just one of the many reasons that having a critique relationship is so important. Whether it's a writing group, online stuff, beta readers, these are the kinds of people who will be able to find plot holes way better than you can. If you're specifically concerned about continuity, you can hire a continuity editor. Those are people who are specialized at finding these sort of plot inconsistencies in a novel. Ideally, in a partner here, you want somebody who will cast an unforgiving eye on your story, someone who will interrogate the plot to try to find places where there are holes in it. This can be difficult because learning that your plot does have a big hole in it can be kind of a painful experience, but it's nevertheless valuable because you do not want a story that ends up having a bunch of plot holes in it. So get feedback on your novel. That's the best way to prevent plot holes. Speaking of the best way to do something, the best way to end this video is right now because it's already getting kind of long. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found the advice in it useful. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out all my other writing related videos and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.